Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now, coming to you from our digital desk. We're about to take you live to a sentencing here in Cuyahoga County. It's like out of a bad movie or bad television show. We see it all the time. Cops who pull people over and then they steal, whether it's the money or the drugs or the guns. The only problem is this was happening in real life between July of 2021 and July of 2020 and July of 2021. There were a pair of cops in East Cleveland who have now pleaded guilty to multiple counts of robbery and theft in office. The officers were accused of making traffic stops and in one case stealing $4,000 from a car, in another case $5,000 from a car, as well as weed and in some cases handguns. This is the sentencing of Willie Sims. His partner in crime, quite literally, was sentenced just Monday to the same set of charges. He was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison and a $40,000 fine by this exact same judge. Let's see if he makes the same decision here today for Willie Sims.
Each carrying anywhere from potential 9 to 36 months in prison, $10,000 fine. In the robberies, felony 5, and the final count, the theft in office, is 6 to 12 months in prison. Post-release control here. The other cases are counts for Nelly. The state defense had a chance to push the PSI. I'll hear from the state first, then we'll hear from the defense. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Opposing counsel.
And identify yourself for the record, too.
Thank you. I am Mary Grace Tokmenko. I am an assistant prosecuting attorney from the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. I'm from the Economic Crime and Public Corruption Unit. So thank you, Your Honor. And just to confirm that the post-release control details mandatory 1 year on the F3, up to 3 years on post-release control, and then up to 2 years on the felony of the fifth degree. May I move around the courtroom?
You may, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were here on Monday for sentencing of a co-defendant. And at that time, you heard me speak about how the residents of East Cleveland put a tremendous amount of trust into Willie Sims and Alfonso Cole when they gave them the tools of the trade, their badge and their gun and everything else that went with it. And I spoke about how when a person is stopped on a traffic stop or any other scene with a police officer, that if they are compliant, they deserve the respect and professionalism from that police officer. And Willie Sims chose not to be a professional. He chose to be a criminal. So for Willie Sims, we're here for 3 victims, but 4 incidents. The first incident we charged, and he pled to, the victim is not present today. He was very disturbed and discouraged by this incident. This happened back in July of 2020, so this was a while ago. And he's been living with the repercussions of it since. So this was the one incident that wasn't a traffic stop. This was a disturbance at a gas station. The victim worked for a beverage distributing company, and he had to go to this gas station for business on them receiving the beverages from his company. So he was going there to pick up a check. While he was there, a woman inside was just irate, was screaming at the cashier, started screaming at him. It became pretty chaotic. So after she was screaming at him, another person kind of came over to him like, "Are you bothering this woman?" He goes back to his car. He removes himself from the situation. He does have a gun in his car he carries with him, as he's always traveling to these different spots for his job. He sees that these people are coming out of the gas station now. He goes to call 911, but before he can even call 911, police are already arriving on scene, call of a disturbance. He said he was sitting in the driver's seat. He he placed his gun on the front passenger seat so as not to be holding it. He said when he did that, a large amount of money, which he had carrying around for the job, also kind of fell out onto the console and the passenger seat. Also a pocket knife, he said, fell out. He said they did what's called a felony stop on him. The police basically ordered him out of the car at gunpoint. He said he was really shaken up from this, but that he complied. He walked back. They placed him in the back of their car and detained him. Now, during the investigation that the police were doing, Sims was the officer who was dealing directly with him and then did the inventory of his car. So they decided after everything ended that they were going to arrest the victim for an improper handling charge of having this gun in the car. And so they were going to tow the victim's car. The victim said, listen, I have a big amount of money, and this is a lot of money to me, $3,850. I have this money, it fell out, it's not with me right now. Can you make sure, you secure that and bring it back? And Officer Sims told him, no, there was no money there. It must have fallen out of your pocket. Didn't look for it, didn't show any concern about it. They towed his vehicle, they arrested him. Those charges were later dropped or not followed through on. He said he did some sort of a probation, but looking at his criminal history, nothing shows. So not completely sure what happened there. Regardless, that was a very traumatizing event and a lot of money that just happened to disappear. The next two events are with one victim. That victim is present here today. If it please the court, I would ask for him to make an impact statement about those events, and if I may reserve a few minutes after he speaks to make a few last comments.
Okay, it's fine.
Okay. Mr. Jonathan Whitlow is here. He's going to speak about two events that happened in 2020 and 2021.
All right, sir. Could you state your name, please?
Yes, my name is Jonathan Whitlow, JONATHAN WHITLOW.
All right, Mr. Whitlow, I want to make sure we hear you. Can you speak into that microphone with the green light on?
Yes.
Okay, that's better. Great. Thank you. All right, now tell us, if you have a right as a victim of a crime, can you tell us what happened to you? And what, as a result, how you felt about it, and what you think should happen there in this case. Go ahead. Take your time.
The first time, my homeboy was driving the car. My friend was driving the car.
2 times ago.
It was 2 times. Well, it was actually 3. The second time, he didn't get nothing because I ain't have nothing. The first time,
Tell me the first time.
he pulled me over.
When about was this?
This was November 2020, I believe, around that time.
Okay. So you pull over, you're driving in East Cleveland, I think?
Yes, I was coming back from purchasing some marijuana.
Okay.
I went to go make a left turn. He made a U-turn. He said that I almost hit him. But I mean, where the street is and where I was at, it's impossible. It's virtually impossible. So he hit the U-turn. He blurred me. He turned on the sirens. He said what he had to say. My friend was in the passenger, so I'm talking because it's my car, and because he made every excuse for why he stopped me. But I'm like, no, we weren't speeding. No, I was in the passenger side. It was my car. Yeah, it was my car. And I was basically dropping my friend off to his car. So when we made the left turn, we made a left turn to where my friend's car was. So like I said, I told him, this is BMW Factory 10. They're not going to put it off the car lot if the tent's illegal. So, I mean, that's what he was trying to do everything off of. He never gave me a ticket. So I called East Cleveland, to try to figure out where can I get the ticket, to figure out what was going on. Didn't do none of that. I noticed that some of my money was missing. The reason why I never said nothing is because I had drugs in the car that he didn't find. So I dodged the bullet. That's how I looked at
You
it.
got this ticket, you got back in your car, and you noticed money was missing.
Yeah, because me and my homeboy got out. I was roughly about 13, close to that, 1,300. But I wasn't tripping. So then,
You didn't.
yeah, because I had drugs on me. Like, if I get out of there I'd rather you can take the money than go to jail. I ain't tripping on that. So I about a year later, probably less than that, is when this at the gas station happened, which I have him on camera. So, I mean, all the faces he was making when she was describing the last one, he could do all that all he wants to. I got him on camera, it's on Facebook. And the troubling part of it, well, I pulled up, I was driving. I'm driving by, he is parked at the rallies right over there by the Foreman Mills.
Well, where's the rally? The rally's right by the...
In front of Foreman Mills going up Superior. So now this is it's rush hour traffic. So every car is jammed, you know, we're jam packed. So I see him come out. When he comes out, you know, he's going around, weaving around with the lights on. I'm not tripping because I'm like, well, hell, you know, nobody's speaking, ain't no. I'm thinking he's going, you know, to go, maybe there's something going on, you know, in the neighborhood or something like that. He happens to get behind me. When he gets behind me, like me, I'm not noticing, you know, I'm not thinking that he's on me because I'm not doing anything. But I go to turn into the gas station, his car, like the way he's driving, like the little metal thing hit up against my shit. So I'm like, excuse my language, it hits up against the back of my bumper. So I drive up, you know, I speed up and park. So I sit there and I wait for him. I'm sitting there for about 10 minutes. So I put my hands out the car like this, you know, like, you know, what's going on. So that's when he finally comes out and he's like, why do you have your door open with your hands? I'm like, I'm just letting you know I have nothing, you know. I'm just, you know, you were sitting there for 10 minutes. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So as I'm doing that, that's when he telling me, get out the car, get out the car. I'm like, for what? You know, tell me what you're stopping me for. You know, so I'm, you know, basically, you know, tell me what you're stopping me for. What was going on? He decides to pull me out, rush me up a little bit, throws me in the back of the car. I start recording from that point on. So I start recording from that point on. From that point on, I start recording. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I'm in the back of the car. An unmarked car pulls up. A white truck pulls up, and you know they just basically proceed to bum rush my car. When I go into my him, I believe the other guy was Alfonso Cole. There was some short white guy in a white shirt. They went in there they were ransacking my car. Like, I mean, if you look at the way I keep my car and the way that the car looked after they got done with it, not to mention the way they looked when they got into Eastern. It's immaculate. I keep it immaculate. I have pictures of the day whenever I drove the car off. I have pictures of what it looked like when it was on the impound lot. I had a 750 Li BMW Alpina.
In what year then?
It's a 2011. They don't make them no more. The V12 McLaren engines.
All right. And how was the car after they left?
It was destroyed.
How so?
I mean, the curtains were snatched off the back of the back curtain. The side curtains were tore up. Clearly they popped open my the armrest in order to get inside to get the money where the marijuana and the gummies were held at, because they weren't on my seat. They were locked in a
What
thing.
did you have locked in your glove compartment?
I have my money in there.
Center console, are you referring to?
No, it's in the middle, because on BMWs on the LI, it's almost like
It's between the seats?
yeah, it does sit between the seats though.
Okay, well, what did you have locked in that
I had my weed, I had my gummies in there. I had roughly about 1.5 ounces. And then as far as the gummies, about 4 packs of gummies.
Gummies with drugs in them?
Yeah, THC gummies. Well, mind you, I'm not getting illegal or nothing like that. Like, yeah, okay, so anyway, it's a THC gummies.
What kind of gun was it?
I had no gun. I said gummies.
Gun, okay, no gun, all right.
No gun. THC gummies, and like I said, some cash on me from my PUA.
How much cash?
It's about 3,000. It's in the 3,000 area. I can know the exact number because I know exactly how much it came in on the PUA on the day that happened. The day that happened was July 7th, I believe.
How you knew it?
Excuse me?
How you happen to know the exact amount? So you got
Because it came in on my PUA that day.
on your what?
It came in on my PUA that day. I'm never going to forget that day because I recorded the one, and I told him he'll see me again. I mean, it's on my Facebook. I have everything. I have his arrogance. I have all the shit he taught. I mean, the stuff he taught. I kept the receipts.
How so?
I recorded it right there in front of him, and I told him he's the only person that ever pulled me over. Don't nobody pull me over because I don't drive crazy.
Recorded it on your phone?
I recorded it on my phone. It's on my Facebook as we speak. It's been sitting there since that day it happened.
Okay.
I walked inside of East Cleveland that night, and I told them, proceeded to tell them everything that happened.
You went to the East Cleveland?
East Cleveland Police Department. They slammed the window on me several times. It took me several times.
Explain what you mean by the window so we
They have an opening window where you go to and you go and you speak to them and you tell them about the complaint that may have happened to you, to whether it was a person out here or one of their officers. They chose to ignore me. When I first came into the building, they slammed the window in my face several times as I told them what was going on. They said that they weren't here, so it doesn't have nothing to do with me.
They weren't here?
They weren't there, it wasn't their shift, so they don't give a damn. That's what they told me.
Okay. All right. Keep going then.
So after all of that occurred, I just let it go. Eventually, I got a call from Detective Nucka, and and then the FBI, and I started putting together and trying to help to put together this case for me.
So the police and FBI contacted you after about those incidents?
Yes, sir.
How they have to contact you, you know?
Because I was the person who kept on pushing forward with this. If it wasn't for them robbing the guy who was going to go pay for his mother's funeral.
Lord, louder for me, please.
Because I was the person who went forward with this. If it wasn't for the guy who got robbed going to go pay for his mother's funeral and it didn't make the news, we probably wouldn't be here today.
You have to explain that to me.
Because nobody was taking any action. This has been going on in East Cleveland for over 20 years.
Okay, you said something about a guy with a funeral that probably...
Yes, there was a guy who was going to a funeral who was robbed by these same two clowns. And whenever it happened is whenever everybody made a big deal over it, because who wants to see somebody get robbed when they're paying for their mother's funeral?
Okay, well, did that prompt you to go, or that just...
No, I had already went prior to that. I walked all through East Cleveland building. I could have let off a damn bomb in there and wouldn't have nobody known, because they weren't in there. They didn't give a damn. They weren't doing their jobs.
Okay, so you said a third incident. Was there a third incident?
That is the third incident. The second incident, he didn't take shit from me because I ain't have nothing.
Okay, well, tell me about that incident.
He just pulled over and asked me about my tent, told me to get it taken care of, and he was gone.
And who was that?
Him?
Him?
Willie Warner Sims.
Okay, him and who?
It was just him by himself. Every time he gave me, it's him by himself.
Including the circumstances that...
I was somewhere coming down from the Coventry in that little area, and he came hopping out of the forgot the name of those buildings right there. It's right across from where that you'll see like
What is near there? What store or...
There's not a store, nothing. It's just a building right there. I mean, it's in between Forest Hill or not Forest Hill. Yeah, I believe that's Forest Hill and Coventry.
Okay, so what happened?
Nothing. Like I said, he just pulled me over.
Well, how did he know you didn't have anything?
Because he checked the car and he did everything he did, and nothing came up missing because I didn't have it.
Then keep telling me what happened.
They just pulled me over and he did the normal search that he normally does.
Which was?
He'll pull you over, says that you're speeding. If you debate that you're speeding, he'll say something else, and then when you debate that, he'll go to the tent, and then he'll pull out his little thing, check the front of the tent, you know.
And you say that he searched...
And then he'll pull you out the car. Yeah, because I mean,
Where were you when he searched your car?
I was right there. I was driving down Forest Hill.
No.
I mean down
Were you in
Superior
the
Hill.
police car? Or were you
No, I wasn't in a police car. I was standing outside of it.
Okay. And did he say to you what he was looking for, or you asked him?
No, he doesn't. They don't say what they're looking for.
Okay. Did you have any further conversation about the search?
I cuss them all out every time I see them.
So, you say he found nothing in life.
Nah, I didn't have nothing to take, so he left.
Did you get a ticket that day?
No, I didn't get a ticket. I told you I never got a ticket from this man until that last time whenever I was going off like that on him, and that's when I finally got the ticket. And whenever I went to East Cleveland, they dismissed it.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, the East Cleveland police detective and the FBI contacted, then you went in, and did you give them information and statements?
Yes, I talked to Detective Nucka on several occasions, and at one point I believe their case got dropped. And somehow, through her, she got it picked up, and that's why we're here today.
Okay, now I assume we covered the incident, right? Okay. Now you have the opportunity, the third opportunity, to tell me what you think should happen in the case, or what you would like to see happen with justice in your eyes. Do you have such a thing?
The only justice is me getting my money back. And another thing is for you all to start paying your officers more so they don't have to steal and rob from us. And where they don't feel like catching a collar is the only reason why they're going to get $1. Because to be honest, that's what it's all about, right? He didn't kill nobody. He didn't beat nobody up. He stole. He's a thief. He broke. That's what happened. And I mean, just to be honest, him going to jail right now, it ain't going to do nothing for me. It's an educated black man. I know he ain't stupid. I know what school he went to and everything. He could have been a legitimate leader in our neighborhood. But what I feel like is due to circumstance, he felt like he had to do more to achieve more and to have more. I feel like that a lot of times too. And that being said, I feel him. I understand. I get it. It's not saying that he's right. He did a whole lot of wrong.
All right, let's switch now back to restitution, requesting restitution. Do you have an amount, Council, for that?
Yes, so the original amount reported for that first incident, and I believe he echoed it today,
We'll call it the November 8th, 20 this year. Okay.
was $1,300 is what.
All right, we would go with the minimum, right? 13, 14, that's what we'll go with the minimum.
Yes.
All right.
And so what was initially reported, and just for clarity, Detective Nukta, who he's referring to, is a Cuyahoga County Sheriff's detective. So what was reported there was $781, along with those other items. So today he mentioned $3,000. I don't have that number. That number was not presented to defense counsel. It was that $1,300 plus the
I
$700.
didn't get my car back either though. They chopped that up. When I went to EC,
Which car and when?
the BMW, when I went back there after I got done with the investigation with Detective Nuka, the sergeant said, okay, now you can come get his car because my car was under investigation. When I went back to get my car,
Was he 20 or 21 incident?
I mean, this is the incident from the last time he stopped me, the BMW.
21.
Yeah. I mean, no, that's 2000, yeah, 21, July
So they
7th.
took your car.
Yeah, they took the car.
And you said they chopped it up.
Yeah, they took it to a chop stop. They didn't put it on auction. They didn't do anything. And then the car was under investigation. It was never supposed to be touched in the first place.
Did they tow your car and did you owe money for the tow? Was that?
I didn't owe money for nothing because it was under investigation. The car shouldn't have been touched off of that lot. Once it hit that lot and I started talking to Nuka, yeah, I'm telling you, once I started talking to Nuka and the FBI, the car was under investigation and the sergeant knew that.
All right. And the car went to an impound lot?
Yes, the car did go to an impound lot. I watched when I went to my car and seen it every day.
Or operated for East Cleveland?
I believe that was through, I don't know if it was East Cleveland's clearly, but Kuffner is the people who had it, but it was definitely on East Cleveland's pound lot.
All right. You aware what happened to the car? Is this the first you know of it?
No, I mean, he has told me that he believes it was destroyed because there was no record of.
So you didn't, was there a time you could go retrieve that car but were unable to because of?
Yes, after it was under investigation, I was sitting here with the FBI and Detective Nuka, and they got done talking to a sergeant and said, yes, Jonathan Whitlow, you can go and get your car. I left out of here and beelined it to my car. It was no longer there. When I asked the operator
How
of it,
long after the event was this? You finally talked to the FBI?
this is about 17 days in.
And it was 17 days and the car was no longer at the impound lot?
Yes.
And where did it go?
From the operator, the guy who operated, he said that they took it and took it to a chop shop.
Like an operator, not a cube or just where they jumped the car, but someone, a chop shop need a place that takes apart a car and distributes the parts for sale.
East Cleveland police, they probably sell dope too. I don't know. I just know they chopped the car up. That's all I know.
Do you know that
Because the operator told me and had a piece of paper with me and let me know and told me. I've dealt with the police. I haven't done this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand.
Mm-hmm.
Where was this? Was a junkyard type operation?
No, this was East Cleveland's impound lot.
They have their own impound lot on that?
Yes, they have an impound lot right across the street from, it's right there next to, it's close to Shaw High School in that area.
Okay.
You can stand at Shaw High School and look directly at it.
Behind Shaw, or where is it at?
It's on Euclid somewhere. I don't know. You're asking for our director. It's like, man, I'm not Google Maps.
I'm trying to determine, is it a lot?
It's East Cleveland's impound.
Private lot that the city uses to take.
I mean, I have a video of it where I could show you it on the camera. I mean, I just,
Video of the car in the lot?
yes, sir.
Was the car in the lot when you got your video?
Yes, sir. I have it in my in there before they told me it was off an investigation.
All right, so is restitution requested for the vehicle, BMW? in this case?
It was not part of the agreed plea package. So.
All right, that would leave you in that regard to seeking satisfaction to a civil lawsuit. Is that the alternative there?
I think so.
So you're going to have to consider that and talk to an attorney and decide what you're going to do.
Like I said, the only thing for all of us,
And or the city might have.
but nobody's getting their money back. We keep suing these people and we're not getting any money. They don't have any money. What we should be doing is suing the state, because you all have known about these people doing this for 25 years. Who are we suing at this point? Have they paid anybody yet? That's the question. Have they paid? What are we doing? We're using this money to sue, and we're going through all the stress and
Have you sued anybody yet?
I'm gonna sue, but I'm gonna tell you, my lawyer. When they call lawyers, they don't want to pick it up. You know why? Because they're wasting their time. They're not gonna get paid.
I understand the chances of recovery.
Y'all about to send him to prison. He can't pay me making 3 cents an hour. How is he gonna pay me? How are we gonna get all of our belongings back? How are we gonna get anything back? All we gotta do is sit here and live with pain and anger. Y'all gonna pay for a therapist?
That's a good question. Okay, so the restitution request for this victim in this case is from the state is $1,300, and the one of that is $781 in the other. So all I can tell you is on your BMW or your car complaint, you can file a complaint, and you'll evaluate it of the difficulties that will be applied on it. I'm sympathetic to your plight, but that's how it stands right now. Okay. So now let's go to the final issue. You want to say anything more about it? I've said
I mean, my thing is I'm going through enough of myself because of the things I got to do with police. I don't trust them and I don't like them. If you can tell by me just being right here, I'm getting agitated because I spent too much time in this building. My thing is just right here. It ain't just black people, it ain't just white people. The black cops actually act worse when they pull us over because these motherfuckers act like they never had power a day in their damn lives. And my thing is this right here, man. For me to sit up there and walk around every damn day and have to deal with having to worry about a cop pulling me over and me getting smashed, getting slammed over the head. And these dudes get to do what they do and then go to PC. He about to go to PC, he ain't about to get it in like none of the real gangsters. And that's the problem with all this. So my thing is, if you're gonna do them, if you're gonna do them in, do them in. Because I don't care about this man going to jail. I want my money. That's what I want is my paper. This ain't gonna solve nothing. It ain't gonna solve anything because guess what? Right now as we speak, it's another cop committing police brutality, whether he black or white. And guess what? He gonna get a slap on the wrist. He gonna go there and be sitting up there with curly Sue, braiding hair. You know, that's what's going on with him.
All right, thank you, sir, for the statement. Now, I want to ask one thing.
I'm talking to these people.
Hold on. All right, then you can sit down.
I don't even like
You
this.
said something about you were smacked up. Were you physically abused in any way in this case?
Yeah, you always physically abused. He dragged me out the car. He had no reason to take me out the car. I didn't do anything. I had permission for the police to even drive the car to where I was driving to.
Were you injured or?
Nah, anything was hurt was my pride because I couldn't hit him back.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it. You can continue to see. All right, see. Yeah.
Thank you. And well, yes, thanks. A few comments, and thank you for your attention. And thank you, Mr. Whitlow. I know it's a unique situation, and it's, of course, not easy for the victims to be here. The last incident Mr. Sims pled to was the incident we talked about also this past Monday. He was with his co-defendant, Alfonso Cole. This was the day after that last stop, as reported. It was the day after. The male who was driving had the $9,000 on him. It was in his pocket when they took him out of the car, and were finally done with the stop. They returned only about $4,000 of it, so we were asking for the $5,000 restitution for the difference. Pertaining to Mr. Sims, this victim, Mr. Brown, reported this immediately. He went straight to the police department after the traffic stop. It was about 11:30 in the morning. He went straight there, and the supervisors at East Cleveland and then the sheriff's office got involved, but the investigation started immediately, and when they stopped Sims, soon after this happened, he had $1,220 in his wallet. He said that it was just some.
He being the defendant?
Yes, defendant says.
Okay.
He said it was just money he had from working side jobs. They got a warrant to search his duffel bag out of his car. There were marijuana edibles that we are believing were the edibles that were taken the day before. He actually made a statement that they were things that he had gotten on a traffic stop the day before, and he was going to put in the evidence room, but hadn't gotten around to it yet. Mr. Brown was going to come today. He fully intended, and then this morning he sent me a text message, and if I could just read it, it's short. He said, "Good morning. I know you're expecting me to be there, but to be honest, I'm scared. I don't want to become a target." He mentioned some family members who live in East Cleveland, and it's bad enough I can't trust the cops, and I don't want to become a target to them as well. I'm always riding through East Cleveland. I don't know who's who, and I just don't want to chance anything. And I think that echoes a lot of what Mr. Whitlow was saying, that when you can't trust the police, what have you got left? The other day, my colleague, Prosecutor Rogalski, made a comment about this whole situation being like something out of the movies. And we all seen movies about police corruption and how those kinds of police try to convince themselves that maybe in a high crime area, different tactics are needed, or they try to justify things by saying, well, it's the culture of our department. A senior officer is doing it, so I'm just going to go along with the culture, and that's what I'm going to do. And Your Honor, and in part, I want to address Mr. Whitlow's frustration with the state of Ohio and with how we handle these cases. We are saying, and this is what we can do, this is our authority. Today, the state of Ohio, the people of Puckett County, were saying that there is no justification for police to abuse their authority. There's that concept of the thin blue line, and it's a very dear concept to law enforcement. It's about how police are the line of defense, and the decisions they make and their presence is what upholds the law. It's what keeps the criminals from thinking they can do whatever they want. And that is a very precious thing, and that when that is lost, if that line is blurred or broken because someone justifies criminal behavior, then we are on a very quick downward spiral into complete chaos. So, Your Honor, I thank you for your attention. It's very significant that as part of this plea deal, Mr. Sims is surrendering his OPATA certification like his co-defendant. We again ask no contact with the victims. We ask for the agreed recommended prison sentence because we believe that is
Which is in the record?
24 months in prison, Your Honor.
And the parole aspect?
It will be a mandatory 1-year parole, up to 3 years.
And that would be up to the Department of Rehabilitation, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so let's clarify restitution request here. So we have $1,300 and $781, total of $2,081 that Mr. Whitlow requested, and then some, but that's what you're suggesting.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Brown was $5,000, and of that $1,200 that was recovered from this former policeman defendant, was that attributable? That was money added. Was that money attributable to that missing money of Mr. Brown's, or what was your conclusion?
That is our suspicions.
But it's a suspicion. Okay. So what happened at $1,200?
My understanding, it was seized and in property. It should still be there. I don't have confirmation for that.
All right.
Cuyahoga County Sheriff's had.
All right. Mr. Whitlow gave a eloquent estimate of the likelihood of gaining restitution off these two defendants as well. He had other terms for it, but I would say his optimism, or lack of optimism, was well warranted from a history of past offenders. So, is there any feelings anyone wants to express about towards 5,000. Since Brown had the courage that very same day to go right to the police, which took some considerable nerve, and make his complaint.
Your Honor, we would
Otherwise,
have-
that money's going to end up forfeited
Right.
to the police department, who deserves it the least, and not the victim, or possibly the defendant himself is successful in efforts to retrieve it. So I'd be interested in the party's opinion on that, or suggestion.
Can I, just to add also,
Yeah.
the first incident I talked about, that male was also asking for restitution.
I understand, but
Okay.
that being the first gentleman isn't here, Withrow was here, but this was, the 1,200 was seized on the date in the Brown case. So it's possible, or more likely, the 1,200 would be attributable to the Brown case and the other two. It may not even be attributable to Brown, it could be a separate 1,200 from the 5,000 stolen.
Correct. I don't know the scope of my authority to ask for that money at this point, so we
Just
can have.
curious, I don't know. If it's still in East Cleveland's hands, it can be released. So we'll ask the defense about that. What is their terms? It's a 2-year mandatory time. How much do we have jail credit time on our computer for this gentleman?
Your Honor, there's 5 days.
All right, let's see if the computer matches it. Because if it matches with no problem, that goes down with him to the penitentiary. And we don't have to make any adjustment. There's no further argument.
See, 1 day,
You have 1 day.
yeah.
Where's your 5 days?
Because before he was released, before he was charged, there was this case before he was indicted, he sat on a case from a complaint from municipal court, and he sat in jail for 5 days.
At CPD?
Yes. He posted
Who
bond.
was the arresting agency? CPD or?
It wasn't Cleveland, he was arrested, but
He would be
He
in the
was
county jail,
arrested.
it was county.
He was arrested that day in East Cleveland.
Okay.
The third individual, Brown, that wasn't here, I believe it was his uncle that worked for East Cleveland and had him arrested that day. He sat in East Cleveland before he was transferred to the county with criminal charges, and that's why we have 1 day here and 4 days there. Respect.
So he had, okay, so he had 4 days in East Cleveland, that
the 1
Cleveland,
day here.
1 day here in county.
Correct.
All right, well, we can confirm that at this, so we'll give him total 5 days. All right.
And as a matter of
We'll
housekeeping.
confirm that before we sign that journal.
I'm
The
sorry.
state can do that for us, that'd be great. If the state disagrees, then East Cleveland denies having him for 4 days or something. Then we'll,
In my database, I have, it looks like 4 days, so.
all right, then that's 5 days. He gets, even if he's just here for an hour, he gets credit here for a day. So I don't care what the time is. Okay,
Just a final 2 comments, Your
Okay.
Honor. From the pre-sentence report, reviewing that, of note, this past, May of 2022, Sims was traveling through Lake County, was traffic stopped for, of all things, window tint violation. Looks like that actual equipment violation.
some irony to that, huh?
Yes, Your Honor. He pled guilty to an attempt charge of attempted improper handling firearms, and I believe the window tint was dismissed, and he was on 1-year community control. That was as of this past May. He pled that case out. Just wanted to bring that to the court's attention.
Okay, well, it's in the pre-sentence report, May 3rd, 2023.
Right.
Granted 1-year community control, 2 days in jail, paid court costs, jail credited. He also had the other charges were related to it, improper handling of the firearm, which is a misdemeanor, well, so that had been found over to Lake County Court. He also had received stolen property. So I was curious about that. What was the history of that weapon in the Lake County case? It had anything to do with the East Cleveland?
I don't believe so, and I believe that charge was dismissed, or that case was dismissed.
What weapons, we covered weapons earlier, what weapons were seized in the investigation of this case? Did any of those have to do with the defendant?
I don't believe so. I don't
They
believe
were
so.
all the co-defendant.
Right.
Okay. But this weapon apparently was originally listed as stolen. Was it followed up on, or the Willoughby case? Or was there any merit to that, or is that?
No, Judge, no merit whatsoever. It wasn't
Okay.
stolen.
It was dismissed, so I don't want to speak for the prosecutors there. But it was dismissed.
Good. All right, well, there's no conviction on it. His other record only consists of misconduct in public transportation, and his report found guilty in 2011. That's usually a not named, I see RTA, like right. That history is consistent here. And a theft in office in August or July of 21. And state filed a motion 3 months later to terminate that case. Okay. The PSI for defense against going to that.
And Your Honor, can I just say, of note,
Yes.
the PSI, it caught my eye that he has a child support issue, that he's in arrears for $16,000. So again, I would just state that demonstrates his lack of respect for court and orders and authority, except when he is the one giving the orders or has the authority. So, and finally too, Your Honor, if I could just thank the County Sheriff's Office and thank the FBI for their assistance in this invest, and our office investigators as well.
Okay,
Thank
and it also validates the victim's pessimism on his ability to collect restitution, but we're going to order restitution anyhow. Now, as a matter of interest, I know you told us the sheriffs investigated this, the sheriff's detectives, and the FBI. Did the East Cleveland Police assist in this investigation? Were they part of this?
At the outset, when it was first reported, yes, but then
Because I see victims here complaining that they made claims to the East Cleveland Internal Affairs. Who began this investigation? What agency? That's the agency I want to began it actually in earnest.
the County Sheriff's Office,
And with assistance from the FBI.
yes.
Because I'd like to be able to applaud the East Cleveland Police Department if they were part of this investigation and were trying to root out the bad in their own.
Well, when it was initially reported, the supervisors on duty there, yes, they called for assistance from the County Sheriff's Office.
So
And
they
then,
called, they did do
Yes.
something. So they did cooperate. And so they are the ones who instigated the sheriff who took over the investigation.
Yes.
And that makes sense in an outside agency investigation too. But I just wanted to see if East Cleveland had some beginning, help this come along. So they did.
they did.
All right.
Thank you.
Good news to hear. All right, as to the defendant's statement, in response to the charges in the plea and the pre-sentence report, I wanted to wait to cover the PSI later because I wanted the victims to be able to speak first for obvious reasons. The defendant regarding the incident on Superior and Hayden, he basically put it on Cole, his co-defendant. As to Mr. Whitlow's events, there's an explanation. These are muddled explanations, but I see no remorse or admission of guilt in this. In this statement here, there's a lot of talk, but there's no taking any blame.
I would agree, Your Honor, and that's why I made my statements, about justifying your actions when somebody else is doing something wrong. We don't see that he has He has pled guilty, and that is an acceptance of responsibility, but I agree with your comments about the PSI interview.
Okay, he, in essence, avoids all responsibility that I can see here and puts it all possible on Cole, accepting no blame or remorse. I see no expression of remorse here to the long statement provided to the court through the probation department. I say that in advance so he considers what he's going to say today. Okay, counsel for the defense, we got requests for $2,081 and $5,000 as far as restitution. You can take your time and address whatever you want somewhere in there, address that issue, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, first is a matter of housekeeping as it relates to the $1,200 that was confiscated. We would not object to applying that to restitution, and we would not object to applying it towards the restitution as the court sees fit. But that was the money that was confiscated.
All right, there's no objection from the state and the court ordered it. Because otherwise it's just going to miscellaneous funds. The court would order that $1,200 to be applied to Mr. Brown, who was the victim who had the courage to come forward and go right straight to the police department, which took some audacity. But he's not getting much back out of the five, but he's getting some back. All right. Next, go ahead.
Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Sims is taking responsibility, and he's done so by way of his plea. And he's also done so, Your Honor, knowing that he's going to prison today, and knowing that he's going to prison today for a significant period of time. In addition, Your Honor, he knows that he's going to be giving up his OPADA and his ability to be a police officer. Your Honor, as he presented to this court, initially he presented with no record. The one conviction that was outlined in the pre-sentence investigation was while this case was pending, it was with his lawful firearm, and there was some confusion on his behalf.
I don't know if it's lawful if you're under indictment.
He wasn't under indictment.
No.
And so there was some confusion as his status with East Cleveland. And the court's aware of the problems with East
All right,
Cleveland.
this is a pre-indictment, right? Sorry.
So you can see in there the disposition by the court, and I think it speaks for itself. But as he presented with no record. And we're not ignoring that, we're acknowledging that. But prior to this, he had absolutely no criminal record, Your Honor. He graduated from St. Joe's. He's got the support of his family. He went to college in West Virginia. He played football. He knows what it is to be part of a team, and his goal was to be part of a team and be a police officer. And his family, Your Honor, provided us in our numerous meetings with photos of him and everything that he wanted to do to be a police officer. And he became part of the police department of East Cleveland, which has numerous and many problems, and those problems are still pending in this courthouse, as this honorable court is aware. And the community has a number of problems. He's taken responsibility for the fact that he did not handle things in the best way, that he did not handle things appropriately. And for that, Your Honor, he is truly sorry. His family is going to continue to support him even after he's admitted his mistakes here. And Your Honor, respectfully, we're asking this court to allow him the benefit of the agreed recommended sentence of 2 years. And Your Honor, it's our understanding that at the appropriate time there would be the potential for a judicial release. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hamel.
Just very, very briefly, the other thing to note, and echo what Mr. Macheva said about accepting responsibility, he did so by his plea. And also I think it's important to note his conduct during the course. This was not a short case. It had a long history to it. And during that time, working towards a resolution, he obtained his CDL license and he worked throughout the whole pendency of this case. Throughout that, Your Honor, and this court takes great note of this, he was drug tested, and during the time of being drug tested, tested negative for all illegal drugs and for alcohol. And he tested negative for that. I think that's significant to note, Your Honor, because we're talking about a man whose life is going to be altered. We recognize the cause and effect to the East Cleveland community. It should be noted those people that reported this crime have all since been indicted or dismissed from East Cleveland. we'll talk about a cultural basis for the
I
crime.
didn't quite follow it. All the people who reported the
The
crime,
people officers that reported this case have either been dismissed or are now under indictment.
what do you mean by reported?
We were been told that East Cleveland took responsible manner in this case. The ones that reported it to the prosecutors and the authority have since either been fired or indicted from East Cleveland. The ones that reported Mr. Sims' conduct have since either been indicted or dismissed.
Indicted is bad, no doubt about it. Fired may not be bad, I don't know. Maybe fired for other reasons, there's a change of, you know,
But in
just
terms
a change
of,
of administration.
but in terms of what's going on, there's many directions that this case could have taken had he not accepted responsibility. He has expressed to us on numerous occasions, and anybody who dealt with him, whether it be the prosecutor or anybody else, Mr. Sims is very much a quiet person, very, does not speak just to be heard. He's very quiet, but he has expressed to us on numerous and multiple occasions how sorry he is and he accepts responsibility. And I know the court will take all into consideration, and even with this presentation, the recommendation of the prosecutor remains the same. A recommended sentence of 2 years. We ask the court to accept that recommendation.
Okay, thank you. All right. Defendant, Mr. Sims has the right to make a statement. You can, as a court, if you like. You have your,
I would like to say I'm sorry to my family, to my friends, for putting myself in this position.
just a little louder. Mr. Allen, turn that microphone over. Hold that up. You don't have to bend over it. He'll hold that up.
I'd like to say sorry to my family, my friends, for putting me in this position I'm in right now, and just want to move forward and my life.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, you can be seated. All right, the court's going to pass sentence pursuant to Ohio law and statute, taking into consideration all the factors that the statutes require in sentencing. And that would be complying with the overriding purposes, which are to protect the public from future crime by the defendant and others, using the minimum sanctions the court determines necessary that can accomplish these purposes without imposing an unnecessary state of burden, and considering the need for incapacitation and deterrence and rehabilitation and restitution. So we'll do that. Looking first at the factors of seriousness, this meets many of the serious factors. This is a very serious offense. I mean, this is robbery. Robbery by a police officer on a citizen. It's turning it all around. It's putting things upside down. That's not supposed to happen. The one person that the public should be able to have confidence in, the one person who's out there for, or persons, would be your emergency service people, your police officers, your detective, your fire officer, your firefighters, your EMTs. They're to help you. They put their lives on the line for people. We give respect. Even the fellow here, the victim with a criminal record, who testified, and who's had dealings in the past with the courts, many dealings. He respected the police. And he said, you dragged him out of the car. He wanted to fight you back, but he couldn't. You were a policeman, and you got a gun. And we give you a gun. The police officer gun. We trust you. These are the one trusted agency with the gun. We don't give them to the other agencies. Just to the police officer. We give them training, lots of training. And through OPADA and on the job training, how to handle a gun, when to use a gun, when to pull the gun, all the dangers with the gun, and how to be so careful with it and use it authoritatively, in a very careful way. And to use it, and so the irony here is, here's this guy who's been in and out of trouble, who's showing respect for the law, and then the policeman's robbing him. It's turned all around. It's putting justice, standing justice on its head. You shake the trust of the citizens and terrify the community. The community is already in bad shape. It's one of the most dangerous, high crime areas in the state, in multiple states. The chances of being a victim in that crime in that city exceed any other city that I'm aware of in the state. The poverty level is astonishing. The amount of abandoned houses and depopulation that's taking place. I know no other city in Ohio even close to it. Nothing compares. And part of that is this culture of corruption that you were a part of. Knowingly, unknowingly, however it happened, there's a culture of corruption. And then you participated in it. You did actions that were cowardly. The victim here we have a guy with a criminal record displayed, some hostility, understandable to some extent, to the criminal justice system. But he had the courage, the victim showed courage here. And that took courage to come in. It took a lot of courage for that Mr. Brown that day to drive right to the police station. Right to the police station where he knows that you and your partner that day operated from. That took tremendous courage to go in there and say, I was just robbed by the police. And what are you going to do about it? And do something about it. Well, most people wouldn't do that. Now, somebody who was in a compromised position who had criminal activity going on himself, potentially, at the time, understandably, can't go. And so, just like drug dealers love to rob drug dealers because they can't pick up the phone and call the police and say, I was just robbed of my drugs, neither can a drug dealer easily call the police and say, I was just robbed by the police. That is a hard phone call to make or hard to stop in to make to the desk. And this guy actually described the desk, assuming it's accurate, went to the desk, was at the window, and I know what he's talking about. I've been in the lobby there at the East Cleveland Police Station. The information window shut in his face. That's an insulting thing, and I can see where the fellow was angry about it. So it's cowardice on the part of the defendant to rob an unarmed person when you're armed and in a position of authority, to abuse that authority to shake these people down and take their money. So you deserve punishment. You deserve the loss of the status you had and the honor you had. Now, interesting, and I never would have thought of it myself, but the victim here pointed out, and he wasn't seeking revenge, he was seeking his money. He had anger, obviously, but he was seeking his money. His chances of collecting that money aren't good, but we're going to order restitution nonetheless, and I hope he's persistent in his efforts to collect that money and obtains a judgment and enforces it later when you're done with your time and you are earning money and you can collect it. It takes a lot of stamina and determination to ever reach that point. But what's interesting is he also didn't seem to take personal animosity with you. Almost wished you the best, not quite, but almost. And he pointed out that you're underpaid, and that the police are underpaid. That looking at the pre-sentence report, your pay rate was $18.75 per hour. That is a low rate, ridiculously low. But it doesn't justify doing that. It's astonishingly poor pay for a police officer putting their line, who would put their life correctly on the line for the citizens. But it doesn't justify robbing even drug dealers or others to self-pay. Your actions of yourself and your co-defendants have disgraced the hard-working police, including the hard-working police in East Cleveland. I know East Cleveland police officers over the years have been tremendous police officers, hard-working police, excellent officers, excellent investigators. All of them, alive and dead, are shaken and disgraced by this. And all police officers in general. Just for the public to realize that police officers are capable of such conduct. It's shocking even to me. The whole event is shocking to me, even being around in this building since 50 years before they opened it. This is shocking events. You've shaken the confidence of the public in the criminal justice system and the trust in put in police officers. So that's perhaps your biggest crime. So you deserve the sentence. The court thinks it's a fair sentence that the state and the defense have agreed to, and the defendant has pled to 2 years, and this court imposed a sentence 2 years at the penitentiary. In addition to the 2,081 Mr. Withrow, 5,000 restitution. Mr. Brown, the court's going to post a maximum fine on the 4 robberies of $10,000 each, the $40,000 fine, and pay and cost. Defendant can work off his cost, and rest, fine, can't work off the restitution, cost and fine, with community service at the penitentiary at the pleasure and discretion of the warden and the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Correction. They have programs in which people can do community work through. Be paid a sum, a fair sum that the warden designates, and that would be credited towards that $40,000 fine and the cost. Take a lot of work to accomplish that, but you've got a lot of time to do it. 2 full years to do that if you wish. I've seen other people do that. There's a variety of works they do, and some are beneficial to the community and be a payment you can make. Now, I look at Mr. Sims' background. I look at his, we focus on his crimes here. They are disgraceful and reprehensible conduct, particularly coming from a police officer. To the last sentence to the police officer, your co-defendant, I reminisced about a public official here in the building who handled criminal offenses against police officers with enthusiasm, because he said police officers are different than ordinary criminals. Because you have the ordinary burglar and robber. They have not taken an oath to follow the law and the Constitution to protect people. So a police officer who does the same crime as an ordinary criminal deserves more attention and more vigorous prosecution, because he poses a far greater danger to the public than the ordinary burglar or robber or whatever the case may be. You fit that description now. Your crime, although it's the same as the other robbers in prison, is greater. It is a greater trust violation and has caused greater harm than the others. The court orders, and when I look at the defendant's background, I look at your background. You had a great background. You had a great family. You had a great upbringing. You had a lot going for you. You had a great high school education and athletic abilities and great promise, and went to a great university with a tremendous team. And you were given opportunities. You started off, many officers start off in East Cleveland and move on to other cities with better pay. And you had your opportunity. You were into a city, an impoverished city, but you were given this responsibility and opportunity to move up in the world, to better yourself, and to help the citizens of East Cleveland. I hope, and I take it there may have been, and I'm assuming there were, opportunities in which you acted as a legitimate, good police officer and helped people. But those are forgotten now. You wiped that out with this disgraceful action, and you harmed all these good police officers that you worked with or worked before you or work there now. They have to override this shadow that you cast, and your partner have cast, and others have cast upon the poor citizens of that city. And so the sentence of 2 years will begin. The court orders the defendant held here in the county jail until the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation has been notified and acknowledges receipt of the court order, which will read that the defendant is separated from all other prisoners because of his status as a former police officer, he will be targeted, and that his safety is endangered, that he must be put in a protective environment, and that the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation Correction and the warden to which the institution the defendant is assigned is aware of that and follows this court order. Now, I don't have real authority over administrative issues with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation. But my experience with them has been that when they're notified and they're aware of it, what this is to do is to delay, there's oftentimes a delay between sometimes a prisoner is sent to jail and they're classified, and that can take up to 30 days before they figure out where the right place for them in the best environment, safest environment. So we're not gonna transfer you until they tell us that they are aware and ready to properly classify it, so they can put you in the environment in which you're not in defense for your life. But you do have this opportunity. Now, you were a young man, you were two. You got two inside, you can reduce that with good behavior and work. Your attorney's going to advise you that you're going to come out on at least 1 year parole, probably longer because of your police status. Yeah, but you're going to be able to go on with your life. You're never in police work again because you're ordered to surrender your OPATA certificate. The court will include an external entry that his OPATA certificate has been surrendered, whether it's physically received or not. It's surrendered. And you're going to so notify the OPATA, and so if anybody checks, he will not be eligible in that regard. We've got other fellows who have convicted crimes who go to other states and actually get a job in police work because the state or municipality was so desperate for police, they didn't properly check. So we went, OPATA didn't have to register to notify that New Jersey or whatever the state was. So they will be notified, and we will see that accomplished. Okay, so you get the rest of your life to make up for this. You got a good family, you got a good upbringing, you made one heck of a mistake, and you got to pay for it. But when you're done paying for it, reconnect, make up for it with a decent life, with positive work in some way, and become a credit to the community. And that would be a repayment. The first repayment that you have to do now is 2 years in a penitentiary. All right, of course it's yours. Yeah, anything else?
Hold on, just for the record, I don't know if you listed all counts, but so for counts 8, 11, 19, and 22.
They are all, he's sentenced to 1 year.
Dan DeRosa with 19 News, as the judge, rather lengthy in his explanation here. He is not the quickest judge in the world by any means. Judge Michael Russo, needing lots of clarification and asking lots of questions. So what should have been a fairly routine sentencing ends up taking roughly an hour and a half. It is, without saying, Willie Sims and his partner, Alfonso Cole. They have now been both sentenced to prison for multiple years for their role as dirty cops on numerous occasions, pulling people over, stealing cash, stealing drugs, stealing guns from their cars, never turning them into evidence in East Cleveland. And it wasn't until a couple of individuals went to not only East Cleveland, but went to Cuyahoga County and the Sheriff's Department to say, hey, this isn't right. I had money stolen from me. One individual had $5,000 taken. They were on their way to buy a new work van. One individual had $4,000 taken. They were on their way to pay for a funeral when their money was taken by these East Cleveland officers, now headed to prison for multiple years. Willie Sims gets 2 years plus a $40,000 fine. That's the maximum fine for the 4 counts of robbery. That's a bit of a message from the judge, plus restitution to the tune of about $7,000 for all individuals that had money taken from them. We're going to listen in here.
For Mr. Brown is fine. So if one person dies or something is unable, the other person owes the full amount.
And the judge continues to lecture Mr. Willie Sims here before he heads off to prison.
Garnishes the money off the working person, that's fine. He gets however he gets his $5,000 first. If he, God bless him, get it.
Judge, with respect to that, you've already acknowledged, because there was agreement by the parties, or at least by the defense, that $1,200 being held by East Cleveland will be applied towards that
Yes.
$10,000.
Okay, so that's true. So we could knock off 1,200. So it's $10,730.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And now we're completed. Just trying to figure out the restitution, who has to pay what, since they were co-defendants and both taking money. We are finally adjourned. We're going to have a complete wrap-up of this and all of the day's breaking news when our 3.5 hours of news starts at 3 o'clock. That's just an hour from now on Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News Now. Have a good afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media at Cleveland 19 News.